Hi, this is Wayne Rivers at the Family Business Institute. I know by now you're sick of me pushing my writing on you, but this may be the most important thing we've ever put together for our family business audience. It's a brand new white paper. The decision making in your family-owned business is broken. Here's how to fix it. Now, why in the world would we write such an inflammatory, in-your-face title and then put it together in a 12 or 15 page white paper, whatever it is? My observation, our company with our 7 consultants traveling around the country, is that Generation 1 people that we dealt with 25 years ago were terrific decision makers. They could have a board of directors meeting between their ears, and they were really good at making quick decisions and moving on. Right, wrong, or indifferent, they were decision makers. Now most of our family businesses have transitioned into Generation 2 or maybe even Generation 3 or beyond in some cases. And the decision making grinds to a halt. It's really epidemic, frankly. And I think that this lack of an ability to make business and family decisions is a death threat for many family businesses around the country and around the world. Let me give you 2 quick examples. During the recession, we got a call, and there was a family business that had moved down to Generation 2, Generation 1 long gone, and all people, men frankly, between the ages of 45 and about 60. And the recession was creating some new realities for them, and frankly, they were overpaid. All 4 of them were overpaid, and that was creating a tremendous drain on their G&A costs. So we went over and we did a compensation study. We helped them a little bit, and 3 of the 4 were willing to make the personal sacrifices necessary for the good of the company. 1 of the 4, however, was not. He absolutely would not consider for a minute a pay cut, even though it might have meant the survival of the company. Of course, if he wouldn't take a pay cut, no one else would. So I'll come to that conclusion in a second. A second example. Senior generation leader, actually a second generation guy, but really the guy that built the business, is trying to pass over control to his 2 sons. And he gives them an important assignment. He says in the past he would have just done this, strategic planning, with a real emphasis on talent acquisition as they build up their company. 2 years ago he would have just made this decision, but now he's trying to train up his sons. And so he says to them, here's what I'm thinking, but I want you guys to research it and I want you to make the decision. So they came back on the subject of strategic planning with a big focus on talent acquisition, and they said, Dad, we have too much going on, too much on our plates. We really can't do that right now. Dad just hung his head, and in order to basically placate his sons on something he knew the company desperately needed to continue its meteoric growth, he just put it away. Now, what's the commonality in these 2 examples? One is a recession company, one is a go-go growth company. What's the common reality? What's the common factor? They refused to make a decision. In essence, they decided not to decide on strategies for either survival or growth that they knew in their hearts they needed to do. Well, why would rational people do this? It doesn't make any sense. Why do family businesses have an irrational, morbid fear of making decisions? In one case, you had a 3 against 1. In one case, you had one senior generation guy who'd built the company from nothing to over $100 million in revenue, and neither would make a decision. Why? Because they don't want to upset other members of the family. Now consider the delicious irony in this, right? One guy of the 4 brothers didn't want to decide. So to placate him and avoid making him mad, the other 3 guys are mad. And the dad, to avoid making his sons upset on something he knows they need to do, just decides not to decide and puts the decision away completely. I'm telling you, you think I'm going a little berserk here, and I am, because this is the biggest threat I've ever seen in my 28 years, 29 years of working with family businesses. This is a huge danger sign, and I know that this is resonating with you because you too, if you're in a Generation 2 or 3 family business, you too, if you're honest with yourself, are having difficulty making decisions. All right? So now what are you going to learn in this white paper? Well, you're going to learn three things primarily. Why family members, generally quite reasonable people, avoid making decisions in their family companies. Second thing is why failing to decide, why deciding not to decide is almost always bad. Almost every single time. I can count on my two hands in 29 years how many times avoidance is the right solution. The third thing is, and this is the kicker, in this white paper we have a foolproof 6-step process to get you off dead center and help you make the business and family decisions that you need to make. As simple as that. It's the best 6-step process we've ever seen, and believe me, we've done our homework on how to make decisions in the family business. So let me give you a quick snippet. I'm not going to read very much from this paper, but just a quick thing that really struck me in my research. This was Ray Hennessy writing in Entrepreneur Magazine. If you're as old as I am, you remember in 1982, there was this crisis. Back then, we really only had the 3 networks, and all the news that we got was pretty much the same, whether you happened to be in Virginia, where I was, or whether you happened to be somewhere else in the country. But in 1982, there was some nut that was going around and putting poison into Tylenol. And I think it was happening up in the upper Midwest somewhere. But the CEO at that time was a guy named James Burke. And he said, this is a problem, and it's a problem so far only in, say, Chicago. But I'm afraid that it may be a problem in a bigger sense. And so he made the executive decision to pull every single bottle of Tylenol off the shelves in the entire country. Now, this could have destroyed that brand. It didn't. In reality, because he made such a bold and courageous move, it actually created more brand loyalty for Tylenol. And here's what Ray Hennessy writes about CEOs making decisions. Choices come with some degree of risk. Think of the worst CEOs. Almost all their failures came from a hesitancy to make decisions. That means not setting a clear vision for the company, not dropping a customer who's taken up too much time and resources, not responding to new technology, not responding to competitors' innovations, not firing a problem employee. Rather than rising to the challenge, such CEOs simply choose inaction. Of course, you could make the wrong decision. There was, after all, a product called New Coke. But the danger lies more in allowing ambiguity to fester than of the consequences of a poor move. I agree with that 1,000%. And I think really, in your heart of hearts, you will too. All right, so this paper will impress upon you the need to make decisions. The most important thing it'll teach you is to decide how you're going to decide. That sounds crazy, it sounds foolish, but that's what family businesses need. That's what this paper will teach you. It will help you decide how you're going to make decisions. And once you have that decision criteria built out, now you're not encumbered with ambiguity. Now you're not encumbered with dissent because you can't make a decision because you have a morbid fear of dissension in the family. You'll have a path to run on. There are really 6 steps here. Number 1, break down the decision into the smallest possible steps. So we're going to open a new location in a city 2 counties away. We'll break it down into the smallest steps. Who's going to research the property, and do we buy property or lease property, and all those kinds of things. But break it down into a series of, you know the old saying, how do you eat an elephant? 1 bite at a time. Break it down into a series of small steps. The second thing, list out all the decisions necessary. Third, and this is really important, determine how you're going to decide in terms of your criteria. There are 2 universal constraints, time and money. Time and money are always factors in any family business decision, all right? Now, but there are other criteria that might be important too. Use a visual if you can. Create a matrix. This is our money decisions. This is our time decisions. This is our vendor decisions. This is our employee effect, employee impact decisions. And put all that stuff in a visual format so everybody can literally be on the same page at decision time. Decide when you're going to make the decision. Decide who is going to make the decision, whether it's an individual decision. If it's a $500 decision, really? Do you need the whole family weighing in on that? Do you not trust your family managers enough to let them make a stinking $500 decision? On the other hand, if it's selling the family business, maybe that requires unanimity. I'm okay with that. But decide what decisions need what teams of people to weigh in on the decision. It ain't everything, I'm telling you that. And then finally, number 6, the mechanism how you're going to decide. Many of you, maybe even most of you in this audience, have been on boards at church, at your country club, at the Rotary Club, whatever. How do boards make decisions? Well, you talk about stuff, you even debate stuff, and then guess what? You vote. It's as simple as that. Why do families treat voting to make decisions like the plague? It doesn't make any sense. So this paper will give you 2 or 3 different alternatives, avenues for voting, so that you not only make a decision that's good for you in the business, but you do it in a way that doesn't upset family harmony. The main point, not making a decision about your family or your business is a decision. And it is almost always the wrong decision. Go to our website, familybusinessinstitute.com. We'll have a link up. Get this white paper. It'll be the best thing you've done so far in 2017 for yourself and your family company. Thank you, Wayne Rivers from the Family Business Institute.